Welcome to my video presentation for Veeam Voyager. I'll just be showing a few things off here. This is my domain controller, adveeam.ca. This is my client that is connected to the domain controller. Here's my Veeam server with two backup jobs already set up. So I'm just going to be doing the client backup first. We'll just cut ahead here. So you don't have to sit through and watch. Here we go. That's the client backup done. I'm doing this as a voiceover, so some things might not line up perfectly. Here is the client backup shown saved on the disk of the backup server. It's called Veeam client. So now we're just going to go to the Veeam client, show it off one more time. Go to the ESXi1 server that it is hosted on and shut it down. And once it fully shuts down, I'm going to delete it. This is to prove the backup properly works and it can fully restore a deleted virtual machine. And just once that disappears from ESXi, there we go. Now I'll just go back to Veeam, restore full VM, and flip through the options. None of these really needed to get changed. Once it's done loading this, I'll just keep clicking through. It'll verify that. And then once I hit finish, here we go. This is it starting the restoration process for the Windows client. I just cut ahead so you don't have to wait through that. Restore successfully complete. Now if I go back to the ESXi, there is the Veeam client right back where it was. If I power it on, it should still be connected to the domain. I'll just launch it through VMware so it's easier to track with and see. If I log in here, same password, same everything, because it's the same machine. And then I'll just go ahead and show that it is still the same machine, still connected to the domain controller, still has the same IP. Next, I'll be doing the domain controller users and group. So here they are, Veeam test group with the Veeam test user, a part of it. So this is just the examples that need to be shown as per the criteria. It says to do 2 of each, but I am just doing 1 of each because I don't think there's much reason to do multiple. Here I am starting the domain controller backup and skipping ahead because you don't need to wait through all that. Now that that is done, I'll just check the disk. And it shows the Veeam controller backup is right there, just like with the Veeam client. So now if I go back to the domain controller, I can remove the Veeam test user from the Veeam test group, so it's gone. I will then delete the test user entirely and delete the Veeam test group entirely. And then if the backup has properly worked, it should restore those settings, even if I don't fully delete the virtual machine. So here we go. I will be running the Veeam domain controller backup again as a restore to bring back the user and group that were deleted. Since I left it powered on, it'll ask to shut off there first. And now this is just the actual progress, which I will skip through to save you some time. So once the restore is complete, I will be able to go back to the domain controller and boot it back up. Once I log in here and reopen the server manager users and groups, I'll just show still the same domain, still the same IP, nothing changed there. Just showing that just because still connected to the other one, nothing's changed. If I go back to users here and scroll down, there is the Veeam test group and the Veeam test user, both back as they were before I deleted them. And you can see if I go to members, it is re-added as a member of the group it was removed from. Next, I will be replicating both the domain controller and client onto the ESXi2, which is 192.168.27.21. So we're going to make a replication job with the replication job addition. I'll just call it migration, just for the purpose of this example. And then I add from the ESXi1, I'll add the client and the domain controller for this replication job and hit next. As for the destination, will be the ESXi2 server, which is ending in 21 for the IP. It has 140 gigs of storage, needs 120 to work properly. A problem I ran into when I was initially creating the client and domain controller was I had made them 90 gigabytes instead of 60. So when I originally tried this, it didn't work because I didn't have enough space. I ended up having to remake the ESXi1 entirely along with the domain controller and client because things gave me some issues there that took most of yesterday. But it was just little things. Once I got to the Veeam part, everything was great. So this is just going to skip through the migration process just to speed it up so you don't have to wait. It does give a couple warnings, but those don't amount to much, I don't believe, because the replication did go through. It finished with warnings, but it did still finish nonetheless. So I will in a moment here, I'll probably get around to displaying the ESXi2, which is the 21, so I'll log in there. And if I go to the virtual machines, you can see the client replica and the domain controller replica. So if I go ahead and power these on, I'll just skip through them booting up, just save some time because this took a few minutes. For their first boot, I'll launch them through VMware just so, again, it's easier to visually see what's going on. And I can log in with the same password I did on ESXi1, but this is now on ESXi2. This was the one issue I ran into, which could have been from the warnings. As you can see, the domain controller does not have VMware tools. I don't know why that was missed. I did try and find out why, but I couldn't really find a concrete answer online. But as you can see here, it is still running the Active Directory and it has the domain, same IP. It's still connected to the replica client, which I will go ahead and boot that one up next, just to display that also successfully replicated over as the same machine. I'll just boot that one from VMware right away and skip to the login after I don't know why I showed the users again here, just because just to further prove it is the same machine fully replicated over from the domain here. And I'll just scroll down to the bottom and yeah, Veeam test group and user. I don't know if I needed to show that, but more can't hurt, I think. And we'll go back. This is the client again, and same login. And this one did have VMware tools fully work when it copied over. So I don't know what was up with the domain controller. It might have just been because I hadn't restarted it actually. That hadn't crossed my mind. I could have tested that. But as you can see, it is still in the same domain, has its proper IP, and shows that it properly replicated over. That is basically it. I think the warnings could have just been general warnings. I'm hoping ah, old warnings possibly as well. But as for that, that is my Veeam Voyager video presentation. I hope I hit all the check boxes. I guess I could have gone further in depth for explaining how Veeam works and how to set up the backup jobs. I do go further in depth with that in my actual documentation. Um, and as for a little review here in the video, I think Veeam was fantastic to use compared to Backup Exec or Backblaze, whatever we've used previously in some of Brandon's backup assignments. This was so much better. I know with Backup Exec for our Byte Saver assignment, well, at least I know I and a couple others had 45-minute backups and then 45-minute restorations that we had to wait through, which took an entire day in and of itself because we had to do them multiple times just for the video. So it turned into just waiting. But for this assignment, it would be a 5-minute full backup image and then a 5-minute full restore. It did not take longer. So I think Veeam is fantastic to use and it is so much better than anything else I've used so far. I know why it's so expensive now, but yeah, I definitely look forward. If we do end up getting to use it again, that would be very cool. At least I can look forward to using it in industry eventually. But yeah, thank you for your time. Thanks for grading this. Bye bye.